We left off on Testament Bays. The Gemara had quoted a brisa. Testament Bays, that we're equating Giti Noshim Tishchurei Avodim. It said three things we equate A to B. Molech Umevi. Then it says, in regard to monetary documents, which are issued by a non-Jewish court and signed by non-Jewish witnesses. Monetary document is valid. But in regard to Gitten, Shuchei Avodim, it's not a valid document. The slave is not emancipated, and the woman is not divorced. Right? Or secular get. The government gives a civil divorce. It means nothing. But a monetary document, a loan document, whatever it may be, a monetary document, it has value.
That's one of the three we're saying?
We're saying the three that it's not valid. We're equating get, Giti, no Shuchei Avodim. That if it's a get is issued by the court, or a writ of emancipation issued by the court, it's nothing. So they're on par.
Right. So they are the same.
They're the same. But I'm speaking. But what about regarding an ordinary monetary document? Right, is valid. Although the court that issued it is a non-Jewish court, and the witnesses that signed are not Jews. Doesn't make a difference. If it's issued by the court, it has value. Let's say I want to do Rashi. Ksherin, second line. The Dina Malchus Adina. Right? Dina Malchus Adina. The law of the land. Va'aval Pasha Nosim Makabel Yisraelim Heim. So the court is written, the document is issued by the court, the witnesses are non-Jews, and two Jews are using this document to transact something. It's valid. What's the reason why it doesn't, why is it ineffective regarding divorce? Because the whole concept of krisus, that they're able to give gitten, to terminate marriages through a document, they have no relevance to this. The concept of marriage and divorce has no relevance to the goy. Wait 1 second. No, 1 second. Aval al hadinim, Rashi says, but regarding monetary laws, dinim, nitztav b'nei Noach, right? That's right. That's dinim. That's one of the shepherds of b'nei Noach. They have to have laws. They have to function as a society. Dinim. So therefore, what's the reason why the court that issues the divorce and the witnesses who signed was not valid? Because there is no relevance to Dina Malchus Dina, because they have no relevance to Gitten and Kedushin. They're not B'toras Krisus and they're not B'toras Kedushin. So what is that with Shuchei Avodim? Shuchei Avodim, the whole Psula Doraisa, Shavu Shichur Leget, Isha, they're going to be Lo Isha. Because the Torah through Gzer Shav equates A to B. Okay, 1 second.
Otherwise, you would think that Avodim should be okay.
It's a monetary ownership.
Right.
Okay? 1 second. It's interesting because I would have said, see, Rashi's saying, because Rashi's taking the easy way. Lola B'isha, the Torah equates get shichru to a get krisus. Right? Equating. I would say like this, the Gemara says that a Jew is the only person who can own another human being. The whole concept of owning a person. Owning a person, only a Jew can own a person. A goy, a non-Jew cannot own a person. Right? For instance, even when a Jew owns a person, what do you own? That he has to undergo to become an Evet Kanani. A non-Jew agrees to sell himself to a Jew, and he retains himself. He doesn't make that transition to Evet Kanani. You have an interest in him, but you don't own him. He's not your chattel. The only way he becomes your chattel is only if he becomes an Evet Kanani. Till he becomes an Evet Kanani, he's not your chattel. The concept of owning a human being has no relevance to a goy. That has only relevance to the Jew. So I would say it like this. Just as we're saying that the reason why the court can't issue a divorce is labnei krisis ninu, it has no relevance because a goy cannot own another human being. But Rashi is saying even more than that. It's lo isha. Since the Torah equates through Gzer Shava, get shichur to get isha, it's the equivalent of that. Okay, so it's more.
Rabbi, when you say a guy can't own another human being, what does that mean? Practically, it happens all the time.
That's not called ownership. What about if I steal something and it's not rightfully mine, and I behave as if it's mine? You don't own it. The same thing. You could capture a person and you cheat him as if he's your chattel, but he's not your chattel, right? Dina Malchus Hadina is not going to do it. Dina Malchus Hadina could only affect something because they have the rights within that context. But if they have no relevance to it, if Dina Malchus Hadina would say, you could marry, a Jew could marry a non-Jew. Does that have relevance to Dina Malchus Hadina? It has no relevance. A Jew, marriage has no relevance to it. Well, we recognize as if you are married. It's regardless of what you recognize. It's not a reality. There's no connection between the two parties. So it has no relevance to Dina Malchus Hadina, right? What?
It says in Rashi that the Jewish court would not recognize in a monetary case.
We will recognize. Jewish court will recognize this.
According to Rashi, Rashi's saying it's only because
But that's why Chazal say we recognize it. Since the law of the land is the law of the land, if two Jews use it, the Jewish court will recognize that document that was issued by a non-Jewish court. If, let's say, Reuven comes with the document that Shimon owes me so much money, and he presents this document, they're going to enforce that document. Because Dina Malchus Dina. One second. There's no question. A Jewish court has non-Jewish witnesses signing a document. Of course it's no good. Right? Here we're talking about it was issued by the non-Jewish court, which within the context of laws, secular laws, it's not a problem. Now, I just wanted to mention like this. You know, there's a halacha we're going to have later. It's machlok shishonim. The Torah says if the cost of v'nosam, it says v'nosam biyodo. When you give a get, you have to put it in her hand, right? What about if you throw it into her domain, into a chotzer, right? She's also divorced because her domain is the equivalent of her hand. Okay. What about you have a situation? You have a tziri rishus harabim. It's a unowned location. It's not owned by the woman. But it's off the beaten track. It's not in Rishus Harabim, but it's a location people normally would put their packages there, so that it doesn't interfere with the public thoroughfare, right? So there's a halacha, for instance, you find something ownerless there, and you come within Dalet Amos, within 4 amos of that. Anything which is within your 4 amos, you acquire, right? That's equivalent to your chotzer. That's your courtyard. Now, what do you acquire? You don't own it. Right? Do you own the location? You don't own the location. But yet, we say that anything which is Yudal Amos, if it's Tzirus Harabim, you acquire it as if it's in your domain. The answer, it's rabbinical. Rabbinical. Right? Once you acquire it, let's say after you acquire it, it's no longer your domain. Somebody else has a right to go there. Now, what exactly is the method of acquisition? When they say you acquire it as if it's in your domain, did they say that the location is your location for the sake of acquisition, based on Hefker Bez and Hefker? Hefker Bez and Hefker, they have the ability to condemn money, to deem it ownless, or to transfer money. So that within that power, they say anything with this, the Dalet Amos that you stand within that location is yours. It's the equivalent of being your chotzer. So if it's yours, so the item that's in the chotzer becomes yours. Right? Because it's in your, factually it is your chotzer. Because Hefker Bez Nefker said that the location is your location. Correct? Or do we say no? So they said, at something which is within your Dalet Amos, we treat as if your chotzer, not that they gave you the location, but rather they transferred the object directly to you. It appears as if you acquired it with your domain. Factually, they don't transfer the domain. But we treat it as if it was in your domain. They're transferring the item to you as if it was in your domain. So you would ask the person, why did you acquire it? Well, it was my Dalet Amos. Dalet Amos is a chotzer. But what was actually the process? The process has nothing to do with chotzer. It's the perception is chotzer. But the reality, how did the transfer take place? They transferred directly, the item was transferred directly to the person. That's how it came about. Okay? So let's talk about get now. So we say monetary acquisitions has relevance to a non-Jew. So therefore, we say, Hefker Bez Nefker. Since the Jew has the same relevance to acquisition on a monetary level as the Jew, right? So therefore we say, Hefker Bez Nefker. What about Gitten Kedushin? Marriage and divorce has no relevance to a goy. Even though we have the ability to nullify, to revoke the marriage, because called Mekadosh, Adait Rabbonu Mekadosh. When a man marries, he marries based on, it was all contingent with the Chazal agreed to it. So they can actually annul the marriage retroactively. So we say the same thing. Let the document be written in the non-Jewish court, right? And based on the Dina Malchus Din, we'll revoke the marriage, right? But we don't say that. That's what Rashi is addressing. Why don't we say it? We could also revoke the marriage. You'll give the document that's issued by the court, let it be a secular document, and the reason why they're not married any longer is not that the document terminated the marriage, but rather when you go through that motion, we revoke the marriage, we annul the marriage retroactively. Why do we do that? The answer is because they're not B'Torah's Krisus. Because they have no relevance to the whole process. We'll only do things where the perception is it's working as you believe it's working, but we're using another mechanism to bring about the same result. But that's only when they have relevance to that process. But Krisus, Gitten, they have no relevance to that process. So you can't create fabricate this process, because the process cannot ever be perceived as reality, because the goy has no relevance to Krisus. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what Rashi is saying. Gitten and Kedushin, they have no relevance to. We're not going to say, we see it as if you are married, we see it as if you're divorced. Because the goy has no relevance to divorce and marriage. But in regard to monetary, which is dinim, since the non-Jew has that, there we can employ the process of what? Of hefker bez and hefker. As if you believe that the document caused it to happen, even the document did not cause it to happen. What caused it to happen was hefker bez and hefker. That caused the transfer. So let's get back to get. This is a machloek shisharim later. If a person takes a get, throws it within the Dalet Amos of a woman, tzid Rishus HaRabim, on the side of the Rishus HaRabim, where normally one would put his belongings. So we say she's Megureshes. Now why is she Megureshes? Why is she divorced? Is it because we transferred the domain to her for that moment? So if the domain becomes yours, the get is in her chotzer. There the divorce, that's called termination. That means until that moment she was married, the moment it fell within her Dalet Amos, because at that moment Chazal transferred to the location, the marriage is terminated. Until that moment the marriage was, what about, we say they don't transfer the location. But rather, the end result is it should be perceived as if they transferred the location. So how could she be divorced? The only way she could be divorced, it's not we make as if she was never married. We annul the marriage retroactively. So to get, you put in a Dalet Amos, Shiddush Rabim. She's not, in reality, she's not being divorced. The marriage is not being terminated. It's being annulled. Except the perception is, you gave the document, you believe the document is what terminated the marriage. No. The document activated the process of annulment. But the perception is, she was married until this moment, and now she's divorced. So could she marry a Kohen? She cannot marry a Kohen.
Why would it annul it? Why would you perceive it as being annulled and not that Megureshes?
Because if they didn't give you the domain, if Chazal, because it becomes complicated. One moment the domain is yours, next moment it's not yours.
So it's not yours. It's not yours.
So it's not. So how is she divorced? The get never landed and never landed in her domain. You need the yodo. Domain is yodo. So if they gave it the domain, it's back and forth. It could be as many people's domain for the moment it is. If that's what they do, it's not a problem. But if they don't do that, so why when the get lands within her Dalet Amos, why is she divorced? It's not her domain. So the answer is it's the moment. It's retroactive. Good. It's all rabbinical. So she cannot marry.
And her children are.
They'll be rabbinically chaloli, rabbinic chaloli. So there are all kinds of ramifications. How you understand it? Is she divorcee on a Torah level, right? Are the kids chalolim on a Torah level? When you pay the ksuba, do you pay ksuba on a Torah level or on a rabbinic level? We treat her as if she's a divorcee, identical. But the question is, what is the reality?
The domain is not hers, let's say, right?
And it was never hers.
It's never hers. So what is it? I don't understand. The guy's giving her a get. The get has no power because it's not her domain. So where's the annulment?
No, that causes the annulment. If you give a get, he gave her a get. Chazal said, Tzid Rishus Rabim Koneh. acquires. You find him at Sion's in off the beaten track, and it's within your dollar amos, and you have him on. You want to acquire it, you acquire it. Right? That's a rabbinic, right? Rabbinic law. So if you say you acquire it because it's the dollar amos becomes your chotzer. Chazal said for that moment it's your courtyard.
Not a problem. That's not an issue.
So why'd you acquire the object? Because you acquired it. It was in your domain.
Correct.
So if the get is there, why is she divorced? Because it's in her domain.
Right.
Identically the same.
It's not going to want to acquire it. It's not in her interest.
It's not. It doesn't make a difference. Forget it's even balkorcha, so the domain's her domain, even against her will.
But if it's not her domain, that's what I meant.
If it's not a domain,
Right.
and let's say regarding a mitzvah,
Find something in that, right?
but not a woman, anybody, it's
Right.
within,
Right.
and you want to acquire that object.
Correct.
How do you acquire it? And Chazal never gave you the domain.
Correct.
So how the answer is, they transfer the object directly to you. But when do they transfer it to you? When it appears as if it is in your domain. Chazal said Dalar Amos is chotzer. But reality did not make it your chotzer. It's only perceived as chotzer.
Okay.
So the process of transfer is what? Not chotzer. It's not an acquisition.
Correct.
It's hefker bez hefker.
Uh-huh. And the hefker
Chazal have the ability to transfer ownership from one party to another party.
So then, where's the annulment coming?
Wait. Let's talk about first that.
Okay.
Monetary.
Fine.
But let's see. Now let's shift to get. Man throws a get. His wife is out in the country,
Right.
and he throws it within her dollar amos. She's divorced. Why is she divorced? Didn't land in her domain, and Chazal never gave her the domain.
Correct.
The answer is, but Chazal said, the perception is it is her domain. So if it's perceived it's her domain, that means she's divorced. But what's actually the process? The answer is, the perception that it's her domain, the reason why she's divorced is because then, in that context, we annul the marriage retroactively. Because kol demekadish shadat rabbanon kemekadish. Because initially when you married, it was contingent on whether Chazal want the marriage to be a marriage or not. They say when a get is being put into your dalan amos, the perception it's your domain, therefore at that moment we annul the marriage, retroactively.
But
marriage
annulment
because
is
it's also
different than
so.
divorce. Sorry.
Sure.
Annulment is different than divorce.
What's different? What's
the status of the children?
of the children?
Yeah, so why isn't it considered a divorce if we're saying that?
Because it has to be, if they never transferred the location to you, and so that means the get never came in your domain.
Right.
So that means, well, how's the marriage terminated?
It has to be terminated with an annulment.
Well, that's not terminated. Termination means,
Or the rule doesn't
the Gemara
apply
says
here.
megas gaius. Divorce is megas gaius. That means it's cut. It's terminated. It exists till this point, and then it's severed. It doesn't go beyond that point. That's what a get is, on a Torah level. But it has to enter either a hand or into a domain. Here it's neither.
So it has to be an annulment.
So it has to be annulment. It has to be retroactive.
Okay.
So that itself is a machlok Rishonim. Because rabbinically she got a get. The process, the perception is she did receive a get. Because what activated that process? Perception.
Let's say he didn't give her a get. The Rabbanan annulled the marriage to some other people. Were they allowed to do that? They're always allowed to. Then she's not.
Then she's permitted. She's permitted to a Kohen. Yeah. A Kedushay Tos.
Right.
We have a case, a Tli of a Kodesh. Right? A man takes a woman, hangs her up on the tree, and says, you marry me, I'll let you down. And she says, Rotzani. If not, you're staying there forever. Right? She says, Rotzani. So the Gemara says, Basra, they annul the marriage. It says, since this is totally inappropriate behavior, whoever heard of marrying a woman in such a way, therefore, we treat him shelo kohen. We treat him the way he treated her. And therefore, we revoke the marriage retroactively. No get was ever given. So what is it? She was never married. That woman, it's like a woman had premarital relations, and she never got married. She's permitted to a Kohen, as long as the man who had relations is a Jew, right? Or wasn't incestuous. She's permitted to a Jew. She's permitted to a Kohen. Okay?
Rabbi, the shliach or the husband throws the get in the wife's domain for war. She's not aware of the get being thrown.
Doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make a difference.
For her, she's not divorced because she never received the get. Although the get.
No, of course. She has to be eventually made aware that it entered her domain.
That's my question.
No, she's made aware afterwards.
How is she made aware?
They call her up and they say, they knock on the door, they leave a note. Look in such a location, you can find a get in your domain. Well, she has to be informed, otherwise she doesn't know.
So the marriage is only known once she is aware.
Again, let's say she's not aware.
Yes.
Wait, she's not aware.
And the get is in the bush somewhere.
No. It landed in her house, and it fell into a crevice, and she doesn't even know.
Okay.
She's divorced, but she doesn't know. So let her. So she'll think she's married.
Yes.
So she thinks she's married. Big deal. It's irrelevant. But factually, she's divorced because the get came into her domain.
No, but suppose she wants to marry someone else, but she says,
She-
I'm
no.
a married woman.
So she won't marry someone else.
That's gonna hurt.
I'm playing your line of reasoning. She's unaware she was divorced. Okay, she'll conduct herself like she's a married woman. Right? No, there's no change then. But even though in reality she is divorced.
But she feels that she's a niguna. She's
So the man says, she says, at least give me a get. He says, I gave you a get. So if it can be proven that he gave her a get, then she's free to remarry. She's free to remarry.
How would Cohen today know if a person was never married before if they had relations outside of halal?
Let's do Tosus. Stump the rabbi is we're going to wait for Purim for that one. Okay, let's do the top Tosus. It's interesting, the halacha, the Gemara tells us in Bava Metzia, we say, Ein shlichus la'akum. The law of agency, you cannot use a non-Jew as a shliach to delegate something through a non-Jew. Okay? I mean, here Rashi says, what's the reason why a get cannot be written by the court, cannot be issued by a court? He says, because they're not b'torah's krisus or kedushin. They have no relevance to marriage or divorce. I mean, when the Torah says kosela sefer krisus, the husband should write the sefer krisus. So when the husband commissions the sofer to write the get on his behalf, is the sofer the shliach of the husband? What would you say, Howard? What would you say?
Paying for it? Yes.
Wait. I'm asking if he's a shliach. It's a shlichus. Wait. We had earlier. If you have a goy writing a get, why is it not valid? Even if Godel Omen Al Gabov. Wait. Even if somebody is instructing him, because a goy has his own state of mind. He has his own ideas. Say more basic. The reason why he can't write the get is because he has to be a shliach. And since a non-Jew cannot be the shliach of a Jew, that's the reason why he's not able to write a get. What do we have to say? Because because he has his own mind, his own ideas, he's not qualified because it has to be the husband. And the only way the sofer can be the husband is if he's a shliach. And since ain't shliach sla'akum, so the sofer cannot, so if he's not non-Jew, he can't write the get. Regardless of what he has in mind and instruct him.
That's all situation.
So therefore, Tosis early brings our proof from there that the halach is, it's not a shlichus. It's not shlichus. He just has to have permission. The husband, he has to be permitted by the husband to write the get. No, irrelevant. Whatever he is, he's doing. But you cannot write a get unless the husband consents. The husband has to consent. The get has to be written on his behalf. Otherwise, you can't.
It sounds like a very nuanced explanation. If the husband has to write the get, someone's writing it for him, I don't see why it's not a shaliach. On what basis is it not?
Because the proof is from the Gemara, because the Gemara says the only reason why a non-Jew is not qualified is because you need lishma.
I understand the proof. I don't understand the logic.
The reason why a non-Jew is not qualified to write a get is because you need lishma, and so even if you have Godel Omen Al Gabov, even if you have an adult instructing him, he does not listen to the instruction of the adult instructing him. He has a mind of his own. Doesn't pay attention. And if he does pay attention, if the husband has to write the get, and the only way the sofik is the husband is based on the principle of shlichus, and a non-Jew cannot be the shlich of a Jew. So that's the end of the story. What do we have to come on to this new understanding why the get's not valid? Because he has his mind of his own. Even if he follows instruction exactly to the T, it's not valid because he's not. The husband didn't write the get.
So the boy building chutzah for you.
No chutzah. What is
It's
chutzah?
like a fence, a protective fence. But the guy is building.
That's not a problem. That's not a problem. That wouldn't be. See, that would be similar. That would be the answer, right? That would be similar. The cost of law. I'll give you an example. I mean, you have many cases. There's a machlokas aposkim is milo. It says the father has an obligation to circumcise his child. Could you delegate milo? Could you make a shlich to be demoil? It's a machlokas aposkim. Is it mitzvah shebegufo or is it not mitzvah shebegufo? Is it only the father himself? It cannot be delegated. Or do we say, no, it could be delegated. It has relevance to shlichus. Okay? But what's the argument? They bring proofs from elsewhere. She said, but how did Chazal know that's what the Torah is saying? Say, that's Torah Shabbat Peh. All we could do, we're not saying with the rationale why, yes, not, but we can bring proofs from other locations how Chazal explain that this indicates that shlichus can apply or cannot apply. Because it's mitzvah b'gufo. Because it's a mitzvah which pertains only the person himself is able to do it. Similar here. The Torah says kosavs. It seems to be the husband has to write it. So if he has to write it, that means the person writing it on his behalf is a shliach. But we have a problem. So what do we need this new reason why a non-Jew is not qualified? Say simple, he's not a shliach. But the Gemara doesn't say that reason. So from what the Gemara says, that tells me that writing a get, it just has to be authorized. But how did Chazal? That's Torah Shabbat Peh. I mean, that's Torah Shabbat Peh. We're not coming to explain why. This is the difference. We're just saying what is the Torah saying, and we see from the Gemara that is what the Torah is saying. You understand what I'm saying? No. What's the? What? It does say explicit. It says explicit because Hadaita Nafshe Kovid. Because he has a mind of his own, and he doesn't follow instructions. It's not written l'shmo. No, but here it's a... No. It's separate than what avodas are. He doesn't listen. He doesn't pay attention. No, he's not. He can't because he doesn't write it l'shmo. That's what the Gemara says. But say more basic. Say more basic. He cannot be a shliach of the husband. Torah says the husband must write it. So the only way the husband writes it is himself or through a shliach. But if the guy can't be a shliach, that's the reason why the guy can't write it. That's why he's not qualified. But the Gemara doesn't say that. So, because the Gemara understood that when Torah says a kosav, the husband, doesn't mean he has to write it. He has to just authorize it. Authorization is sufficient. It's not a shlichus to halacha. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. This halacha we had in Kedushin normally say ein shlich l'dvar aveira, right? But there are exceptions. Shlichus yad. If something was consecrated, and somebody tells somebody, take, person is magdish a bag of money. And then afterwards, the only time you moil is if you moil b'shogig. If you benefit inadvertently. Person wants to benefit from hegdish deliberately, no, it's hegdish, he's in violation of benefiting, but he doesn't pay the chomesh, it's not yotzi l'chulin, he doesn't bring a korban. Right? Normally when you moil b'shogig, the object you take becomes ordinary immediately. You have to pay principal plus a fifth, plus you must bring a korban. But let's say he knows it's hegdish, it remains hegdish. So whatever remains hegdish. You're a violation, but you only pay. You don't pay anything. You don't bring the korban. Now, what happens? So if a Jew, let's say, consecrates a bag of money, and he tells him to take the bag that's on the right side, because he thought that bag was the unconsecrated bag. And the person tells to take it, takes that bag, who's moil? So we had in Kedushin. So the one who delegated is Mol. So what's to see? You see from there by Shlichus Yad, not by Shlichus Yad, by Milo, Yesh Shlich L'Dvar Aveiro. So the Gemara uses the term Yesh Shliach L'Dvar Aveiro. Okay? Without Shlichus Yad, a person is a shomer. You're not permitted to use the item that you were appointed to watch over as a custodian. What happens if he uses it inadvertently? Shlichus Yad. Or even deliberately. He has all liability like a thief. Like a thief. What about if the Shlichus Yad, he delegates it, he says, go take that item, believing it's his own. We say, Yesh Shlich Dvar Aveiro. Deliberately, not deliberately, Yesh Shlich Dvar Aveiro. Okay? So it's a similar, if you read the Gemara, it's Shlichus. The Rambam seems to be saying that even if you tell a non-Jew to take it, the halach is the one who tells the person to take it, he has liability. So they ask him the Rambam, but ain't shlichus la'akum. The non-Jew cannot be a shliach. So why, when you tell the non-Jew to take the item that's consecrated, why is the person have liability? How do we link the goy with the Jew? So the Ketosah says, explains the Rambam, that the Rambam is exactly what we're saying here, that the halacha of Me'ilo is not a shlichus. It's not a shlichus de halacha. It's you caused that the hegdish item that was caused through you. It's causality. That's sufficient to be moel. It was through you the item was compromised, through your instruction. That's enough. So it's not a shlichus de halacha. It's not shlichus. And same thing, because of the Sefer Krisus, it means authorization. Doesn't mean you factually have to be the one to write it. So even the goy would have been qualified if not for the problem of lishmo, because adait nafshikovi, that he doesn't pay attention. Okay?
It would have been like him writing it. It would have been like he caused it to happen.
Right, because it was through his authorization it's being written.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Okay? But we'll see Tosas. Tosas here says differently.
It could have said the not Talmud features. It said because of.
No, because it's not enough. Because of it, no. Everybody, the giving is definitely shlichus. Because the Torah says v'shilach. The Torah says he must send it. That the Gemara learns, we learn shlichus. From the giving of the get, that's shlichus. Nobody argues that.
I'm just saying, the word custom is a very specific word. It just seems.
It says v'kosav v'nosav.
Normally we learn when it says something like that. That's what it means.
He must write it.
He must write it. And if he doesn't write it, then it's not shliach. It's just.
But even though the Torah writes v'shilcha within the context of giving the get, right? Not within the writing of the get. Right? I mean, the Torah should have somehow. Okay, let's see Tosas. Tosas here says differently than we're saying. Api shechosmen of the kochom shem chutz migidoshi. Omri, the chosmem of the kochovim. If the witnesses on these monetary documents are what? Are non-Jews? Yesh livsol. Api shekosvi Yisrael. Lavnei krisis ninu. Right? Even if let's say a Jew writes the get and the goy signs on the get. It cannot be valid because lavnei krisis ninu. They have no relevance. Even though we have an anad sadi. Anad sadi, if they sign in court, they're not going to lie. It's irrelevant. Can Amil come on vote? B'inam l'shmo. It has to be written l'shmo. V'ovid kochovim adaited nafshi kovid. Can Amrina so perk base? More quotes more later. A non-Jew, he has his own ideas. He doesn't follow instruction. V'od, what? No, I understand. V'od, the lavnei krisus, the lavnei shlichus ninu. Yeah, another reason why the goy cannot write the get or sign on the get, because lavnei shlichus ninu. The ain't shlichus lov gechovim. Now, let's stop for a moment. So Tosas himself is learning. When the Gemara uses that reason, it's one of the reasons why. There's a more basic reason. We don't have to say shlichus. He has no relevance to write a get. You need lishma, right? Because even when you have shlichus, if the man doesn't write lishma, it's not valid. So, it's a dochik. But Tosas is giving. We're offering multiple reasons why the guy is not qualified. Lishmo adagavshke. In addition, lav nishlichus ninu. I understand. Binin she'omar l'sof lichtov le'edim chasomu, mashter bo shlichus, ve'od psulin le'edus. In addition, the apostle le'edus. Va'afilu remeir lo hava boy le'misul eved le'edus. What about Remeir holds that an eved is actually is qualified to be an aid? Mishum dechsiv shek ona ba'ochiv. The Eved Ochiv who b'mitzvahs, a slave, Eved Kanani is Ochiv b'mitzvahs. He's obligated mitzvahs kisha. Wait. He's talking about Eved. So if an Eved would sign on a get, if he would sign on a monetary document, it would be valid. Without Hefker, as Nefker. What about if he signed on a get? It would not be valid. Because it's Lav Nekrisus. It has nothing, right? Not because he's not trustworthy.
He's still an Eved, though.
He's an Eved. It has no relevance to marriage or divorce. Avol ovid kochom dlav ochifu pshita the apostle. The came dlav in the edus ninu hayuroi afilu kol ashtoros olim berkos shelav kochom leave so min Torah. So a non-Jew when he signs on the document, even if it's an ordinary monetary document, we should invalidate it, right? Because a goy is not qualified to be a witness, and yet it says here in the Brisa that if the document was issued by the secular court, even if the non-Jew is the signature on it, it's valid. Even though in Torah it's not. It's a rabbinic legislation. As long as we can say definitely, if the court issues a document and witnesses sign, these witnesses are telling the truth. Because they're not going to in any way implicate themselves negatively. Now the question is, what about a shtar matona? Komokom shtar matona ketoni lekamon the chas balmu avgav the kimlon the kush the komar shum the hare enkan shtar. It's very interesting. If I lend a person money, what's the basis for the obligation? Giving her the money. The document's only proof that the money was given. So a goy normally is not believed. So we say, rabbinically, we say a goy, if he's not going to implicate himself, there's an anad sadi, we believe him. We say this is truth. So you have the proof. But the proof is not based on edus. Not because we believe him as a witness. Because we say since he signed on a document that was issued by the court, that kind of document he's not going to sign unless he's telling the truth. Okay? A Jew, what do you believe a Jew? Because he's not going to implicate himself. Because there's Gzeres HaKosov that when a Jew signs, that's evidence. That's where it begins, that's where it ends. Not because he's definitely telling the truth. Because the Torah says an Ebed has nemonus. I mean, a Jew has nemonus. We'll stop.